Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of our Rossoneri Roundup podcast. As always, I'm joined with the one and only Shady. How's it going, Shady?
Hey Luke, how you going? Hi everyone.
How am I going? I'm a little bit shocked, I would say. I've had a bit over a day and a half to digest what's happened, but nonetheless, it's still a bit shocking. If I guess you live on Mars, I'm talking about the Super League bombshell that was released yesterday morning, Monday the 19th for us. I guess announcing that the Champions League could be, well, Europe's biggest 12 clubs are leaving the Champions League and forming their own league, I guess. What are your thoughts on it, straight up, Shady?
I don't like it, straight
Yeah.
up. I don't like it. I don't want it to see the light of day. Unfortunately, I think it might. Money always seems to talk, and unless the one of the clubs from England, I think, pulls out, then I think it's going to go ahead. I think it's too much money for the clubs in it. I mean, the Italian and Spanish clubs to pull out compared to the revenue they'd usually be making in Serie A or La Liga. Whereas the Premier League clubs would definitely be making more money, but they already make very good money compared to the rest of Europe. So it's whether they're gonna be able to sacrifice that extra money and pretend to have a conscience, which they don't. But whether they're under the pretense of like having like some kind of moral compass, they're gonna pull out of it. We'll see. I hate the idea. I think it was mentioned 2 years ago when they started playing that in the summer, our winter, in Northern Hemisphere summer, the International Champions Cup, with the friendlies in the summer. I think a lot of people at the time said that was like the framework or the precursor for this European Super League. Yeah. And I've at the time I said, I mean, not that anybody would listen to me anyway, but I mean, at the time I think I tweeted something like, yeah, I'm just against this. This is probably what they have in mind for the future. I don't like it. I'm all for what we've been hearing, the term we've been hearing the past couple of days, which is the football pyramid. I'm all for that. I'm all for merit-based achievements. I'm all for Milan winning their 7 Champions League titles, their European Cup and then Champions League titles on the pitch, playing at Red Star in qualifiers, going through against PSV Eindhoven, going through against Ajax, going through that drama, going through against Celtic, Ricky Kaká scoring that solo goal against Celtic. The one, I'm all for that. That's the Milan I love. Beating Steaua Bucharest and just the list goes on and on. Yeah. That's the Milan I love, and I'm to be honest, I'm really disappointed in the club. I know the Elliot, they're at the end of the day, they're a business, and they're just looking at just numbers. But I was hoping there would be like ardent opposition from within our management, especially Maldini and co. I know that financially, I know, and with COVID as well, it's awful. I understand and appreciate that, and I know it can't have been an easy choice, but I'm disappointed. I would have expected a lot of our like Bandieri, a lot of our club legends to just stand up and say, "Nah, this is not on our watch."
And you know,
I'm sorry, I've been on like a 5-minute rant, but this is how passionate I am about.
It's understandable because for a lot of people, it's been a pretty sad few days for football worldwide, because it's not just Europe that it's affected at the end of the day. I think on the financial note that it's a bit disappointing that these bigger clubs are just worrying about themselves, because I mean, if you just look at the Serie A, I think the story of clubs like Atalanta recently, and even though we've got them coming up, Sassuolo and Verona, all of these stories, they're leaving their fellow clubs in the domestic leagues completely behind, and I think that's a bit of a sad thing to see. I feel bad for Roma, Napoli, Fiorentina, all of these clubs, because what does that mean for their future? It is selfish, I think. Ironically, I think for Milan at the moment, we're probably the ones that I mean, it doesn't really make sense that we get a locked spot in the top 12 with our performances over the last few years. Same as clubs like Arsenal and
Spurs, who've never won it.
It's bizarre. I completely agree with what the Leeds team came out with, the whole "you've got to earn it" t-shirt protest. It's very arrogant and selfish, but I guess that's what modern football is. And as Perez came out, the Real Madrid president, and said that they're saving football instead. I mean, really, when you're spending, it's all because of the spending habits and the ownership changes over the last few years that have caused this anyway. I mean, spending hundreds of millions on players that probably aren't worth it is the reason why some of these clubs are bankrupt to begin with. So look at that and address that before you screw up and blow up the whole European system.
Exactly. And I agree with, I mean, we've got with our fellow Milanisti in Melbourne, we've got a WhatsApp chat, and a lot of people rightly pointed out the issues with financial fair play and that UEFA is corrupt. I agree with that. And I agree with that FIFA as well. And, you know, some of the shady deals they had awarding the World Cup to Qatar and all of that. Okay, I understand all of that. And all of that needs reform. But that does not mean I don't know. That does not mean you've got like a broken window in the house, so you demolish the whole house. That's not how it works. If these clubs had put together like a united front to push forward more reforms within UEFA, now I mean, I might have seen it as a bit greedy, but it would have made sense to me. But just to demolish everything that way, I don't agree with it. And I think I mean, even the Rio Ave penalty shootout earlier this season, all that drama, all of that we're going to lose. Milan is rich. I mean, not that we'd ever want it to happen again, but our history is such a strong and rich one that we went down to Serie B twice and then came from the ashes. We came through. I mean, yeah, we were basically resurrected and became champions of Europe again, champions of the world. I mean, we're going to lose all those fairy tale stories for some kind of plastic. You know, the next thing you know, they're going to introduce timeouts so they can do more like commercials in between. It's basically becoming a plastic sport, and that's against everything that I grew up loving. And I think I'm not alone in that. I think millions of people would agree with that point of view.
Completely. I mean, we could talk about it for hours, but I guess the last question I'll ask you about it, Shady, is if you were at the Serie A right now, in charge of the Serie A, what would you do to punish the 3 Italian clubs that joined up?
No, they'd be disqualified from the next season from Serie A because they're the arrogance of the announcement is we'll be playing in our leagues. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll be giving you the revenue from our domestic games. It's almost as if it's the league is like a charity case, and that's not it. I mean, we all want to win the European Cup, but you also need to be the best team in the land. So yeah, very arrogant statement. So I would disqualify them from the local competition. Like I said, whether or not the Italian and the Spanish FAs have the financially strong arm these teams to do it, I doubt. So it's really, I think if this is going to be stopped, it's either going to be like FIFA actually taking a stand. They said they disapproved of it, but they weren't very firm. So I think it's either going to be FIFA drawing the line like, no, you can't play with your national team, you can't play blah blah blah, or one of the English teams pulling out, and then under the pretense of like that they were guided by the fans or some kind of, you know, something that none of us will believe. But anyways, as long as it gets called off, I hope that's the case. Some people said it was secretly a trick. Sorry, you go. I've been ranting.
To quickly say that, since when does England have half of the best teams in Europe? Yeah, when did that happen?
Exactly.
I kind of missed that.
Exactly.
When was Tottenham a bigger club than clubs like Roma and Napoli and Lazio? Ajax, yeah. Yep.
How are Tottenham bigger than Ajax or Porto even, or Benfica?
Yep.
No. All of these are clubs with European history and heritage. And Sevilla in the Europa League. I mean, look, I mean, Don't get me started on this because I could just rant on and on and on. I hope they reach some kind of compromise. I hope it's called off eventually.
Yep. Anyway, before we go too deep into that, we better move on to our next point, which is the Genoa match. What were your thoughts?
Wasn't spectacular, but we got the job done, and I'm happy we broke the San Siro curse, and yeah, we got the win, and that's all that counts.
Hey, speaking of curses, we almost broke another curse as well that came from the number 9, almost.
Well, yeah, well, arguably we did because Scamacca's wearing the number 9, and arguably he scored his first goal for Milan as one of the.
I didn't think about that.
Jack said at the event on the day, he said, which was a great event, by the way. For those who missed it, we'll look forward to having you on the next one.
Absolutely, it was a good event. Our events are getting better and better somehow. I think from that match it was pretty clear that we were missing Zlatan up forward. We were pretty rudderless for most of that game, I think. And really, Mandzukic came on, but someone pointed it out at the event that I think his legs were gone a few years ago, so he wasn't really doing much.
Yeah, I think after the World Cup in 2018, he put in some great performances, but maybe, after that. I agree with you 100%. We're lacking that bite up front.
Yeah, it was a screamer by Rebic, that goal though.
Very nice. Yeah,
very nice.
And then it was a shocker that he missed that sitter in front of an empty goal in the second half. So he kind of balanced it. Yeah,
and we should also mention, he did screw up and probably concede us that first goal, or was the reason behind the first goal. But Tomori and was it Kier?
Yeah, it was Kier the first one, and then Tomori the second. Very nice.
Tomori. So they definitely saved it from being a draw.
Yeah, definitely 100%. They did really well.
Anyway, Sassuolo, what do we think?
Oh, a tough game. Can we get 2 on the trot at San Siro? I hope. Keeping my fingers crossed. A tough game, tough team. Plenty of good players on that squad. So it's really hard to pinpoint just to one, but they've got a lot of really good players. Locatelli, Berardi, Caputo. Caputo's out, we said, but Boga, Traore.
Yep.
But a very good squad, a very good coach, and it's not a match to be taken lightly.
Yep. And on the last 2 players you mentioned, Boga and Traore, is going to be a test for Teo and whoever plays on the other side, Kalulu or Dalot or whoever, whether they can handle them. It'll be a test for Teo whether he can, be defensive for a full match.
Yeah, I hope so. No lapses. Yeah.
No lapses at all. Yeah. But from what I know, I think probably no Romagnoli, and I don't think Calabria will be back. So
not quite yet. Yeah. He said that. I think he said. Yeah, well, that's the good news. We've got Ibra up top, so we will be able to perhaps score a few of those crosses. So I think we will be scoring. And I think no Romagnoli or Calabria.
Okay. Prediction?
3-1. 3-1 win.
Okay. I think I'm going to stick to it. I think I can see Sassuolo scoring, so I'll go 2-1, which seems to be the pretty reliable prediction this season.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look, as long as we get the 3 points, that's all counts. Yeah.
Anyone you're expecting a goal from?
I think Ibra's gonna come back with a bang.
Yep. All right.
Yourself?
Well, yeah, for me, I'm thinking maybe Rebic again. He's in good form.
Yep.
So we'll see. I would have liked Leo to, I guess, have a bit more of a run, but he still didn't really prove himself that last match. So unfortunately, I think he'll be on the bench for a lot of the match.
Yeah, inconsistent. He does so well, ever so well. We all know the talent's there, but he does ever so well in one game. Then the other, he's just like anonymous.
Yeah. Ironically, I think actually, it would have been better to almost start with Mandzukic and then sub on Leao, going back to the Genoa match, because
Yeah,
I think Leao's run and kind of dribbling skills would have been helpful later on in the match
in the
when
second
the
half.
game kind of opened up. Whereas
Yeah.
it wasn't he didn't really get the chance to use that in the first half. So maybe that was part of the reason for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. We argued for the opposite, really building up, or I did. I lobbied for like Leao to start,
Yeah.
but in retrospect, I think there were quite a few like open spaces in the second half. So maybe
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I've got, and unless there's any news or anything else you've got, Shady.
I could probably go on for, talking about the Super League for an hour or so. So I think I'll. I think it's best you run for the hills now. Yeah,
Yeah.
No, I think
it does feel like well, first of all, it feels like the Genoa match was about 2 years ago, and it feels like this Sassuolo match isn't even approaching us because this Super League news is taken control and just spread everywhere. So big news, and arguably for some or a lot of people, sad news.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully next week we'll have some good news to talk about after the Sassuolo match. But until then, Shady, Forza Milan, and see you then.
See you next week. Forza Milan.
Got